There's an old adage that you don't have to be faster than the bear, just faster than your buddy. And while it may seem silly, I actually think this is a decent way to evaluate a supplemental set like Everfest, because everyone, to some extent, got new toys, and adding without removing generally means improvement to some degree, unless, of course, you get a silver bullet for your items, Mechanologist. But the question isn't who got better, but rather who got better. So which classes gained ground, which heroes lost ground, who got the bestest toys, and who moved up in the Everfest race. So today I give my take on the winners, the losers, and everyone in between from Everfest. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, Flesh and Blood folks. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast. Thank you very much for tuning in and joining me talking Everfest winners and losers. So the set's been out for about 2 weeks. Not quite technically, but 2 weekends of play. Now that first weekend generally is always kind of a scramble. Everybody's trying to find their cards or their opening packs or whatever, and they want to play what they want to play, right? So kind of that first little bit is everybody kind of jockeying for position, right? But then the race starts the next week, right? So we've had 2 weekends of play. We've even seen some competitive stuff, right? As most of us know, Bravo, Starvo, whatever the kids want to call them. Elemental Bravo is doing really, really well early. Now, we don't want to put too much stake in that as being the meta, right? Because again, it's people playing what they think is going to be good early. So we will see where it goes. But it is good to pay attention to that. So tonight's cast is sponsored by our friends over at fabdb.net. They are the best source online for everything fab related. I've been spending a lot of time on there, as you can imagine, in the last couple weeks trying to figure everything out, figuring out what I need to go buy. You can get pricing over there. Of course, they have the deck builder tool, collection management tool. And spend a lot of time over there. I know most of you guys use it already, but if you haven't checked it out, go check them out. They're the best site we have, right? So thank you to FabDB. All right, so tonight, based on the feedback that we got kind of from the last one, we are going to do this PTI style as well. They could use the old template and plug it in, and I thought it'd just be fun. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into this. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go down the top. Now, I don't want people to get too hung up on number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4. I kind of see them as more in groups, right? And that's why I have here so I have the winner, and then I have a couple who I think pulled ahead, right? Because I'm viewing this as a race, right? I did this crazy GIF thing I did, right? Or not GIF, overlay. Sorry, the crazy overlay thing I've got with all the heads in it. Whatever. You guys get it. It's a foot race. So we have the winner. We have pulled ahead. We had held firm, meaning they just kind of stayed in the middle of the pack. We have people who lost ground, and then the ultimate loser, the class that got eaten by the bear. All right. So number 1 is pretty hands down to me. It's Guardian. This was clearly a Guardian focused set with the Fabled being a Guardian Fable. Bravo's really good, right? I mean, and that's not based on just what did well this weekend. And to be clear, I don't know where Bravo's going to end up. And I think that's kind of the point of it in terms of how we're going to build him. And I think that's kind of the point is basically any elemental card that gets released helps him in some way, right? Now, obviously you can only put so many cards in your deck and you have to have your ratios right and all that, right? I get it. But Bravo's really good, right? He has the largest card pool of anybody, right? So it's very, very, very good to see what he did. The Guardian also, I mean, whether you're all in on Bravo Star of the Show or not, or whether you want to be more of a traditional Guardian, you got a whole bunch of toys. Steadfast is pretty crazy. I think Seismic Stir is pretty good. We got all the new Heave toys. All sorts of stuff for Guardian. I think easily they won. Now, if you're comparing their toys minus Bravo, if you're comparing their toys to the toys some of the others got in the pulled ahead category, maybe it's relatively even there. But when you add in Bravo and the fact that I think to some degree, he's going to define, I mean, well, we've already seen it, right? He's going to define the early meta, at least, of Everfest. Who knows where it ends up in the end. But I think we're going to see a lot of him early. So definitely the reason I've got that there. Okay, next we have our filthy Runeblades pulling in the number 2 slot. So they got a bunch of good toys as well, all sorts of different lines. Even Briar, even Briar, the Briar deck still picked up toys, right? Even though she didn't directly get anything and it was kind of good timing because a lot of people were looking for what to slot in for Plunder Run and stuff like that. And they got stuff, right? Swarming Gloomveil is pretty gross. It's way too early to call for like crazy power or anything like that, and people learn how to play against it and all that, but Swarming Gloomveil's pretty disgusting. This Chane also, I have Skrill of Skullform on there just kind of showing it, but there's this whole series of cards that if you've pooped out an aura or multiple auras, I mean like Swarming Gloomveil, there's that whole cycle of them. I think red and blue Skrill are really, really good. Drowning Dire is also seeing a lot of play, right? That one is pretty popular, also pretty good in its own right. And then Revel in Runeblood, if you can pull off the the Wombo combo there, that can be pretty good as well. So Runeblade, I think, and it's kind of hard to put it in, if they were at the front of the race before, which I think they were, when they pulled ahead, everybody else pulled ahead with them, right? That's kind of how I'm thinking about this. But I think Guardian made more ground. Whether or not Guardian's in the front of the pack, I don't know. But that's just kind of how I'm thinking of, right? It's not who's finishing the race 1 through 10. It's who's made more ground in this set, right? So hopefully you guys are picking up what I'm laying down there. All right, moving on. Number 3, I do have Illusionist, right? Illusionist picked up a ton of auras. She picked up a ton of tools. She's, I think the jury's, so I think Fractal Replication's really good. I think it's fair for the jury to be out on that one. But the auras she picked up she got new aura tools, and that's what she needed, right? You have a ton of blues now. You don't need to necessarily run the deck with you obviously need yellow pitches because that's kind of your bread and butter there, right? But you have a lot of blues to try and do your things that you need to put out your auras. Very, very, very strong, right? So, and realistically, I don't know that. Well, I think that's part of the reason I like this is the people who don't want to do much with their Prism decks, I think can just kind of slot some stuff in, and I think there's a possibility of doing a complete overhaul of the Prism Auras deck. If you're the person who just runs Prism Heralds, you did technically get some tools as well. I mean, they're not technically Heralds, but you follow. So a lot of options there as well, a lot of lines of play, very, very exciting stuff for the Prism folks. Right, last on my pulled ahead list, shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, is Wizard. Wizard got some pretty gross toys. Now, the disclaimer there, as it kind of always has been for Wizard, right? But the disclaimer there is most of it, or much of it is probably still relegated to Blitz, right? Icelander we got, I don't know how big of a player she's going to be. Without there having been elemental cards in this set, I think that did hurt her a little bit. Or not hurt her, but it didn't help her, right? I mean, it couldn't have hurt her because she didn't exist, right? But I don't think that she was as crazy good as a lot of us thought she was going to be, because I think some of us were like, wow, what's going to come out in the set? So that said, either either Wildfire, Potion of Luck, Scour, all sorts of toys. They also got the Potion of Optiness. What one is that? Oh, Potion of Clarity. Clarity Potion. There we go. Potion of Optiness. Nice, Andrew. All right, moving into Held Firm. So I think in relation to the others, I think Ninja held firm, but I have them at the very, very top of the Held Firm because I think they're kind of right on the border. In Blitz, obviously, Blitz with, basically everything on the screen here, but also with Benji's specialization. Benji's shown early to be pretty gross in Blitz. We had, I'll put up across the screen now, some of you who've been loyal to the channel have already seen this, but Billy was able to pull off his first turn, so he went second, and he was able to end his Blitz game in like 4 minutes because he went first, defended one card, and then just pooped out. You see it across the screen now, and that's pretty gross, right? It can do things. Do keep in mind he was playing against Kano, so he didn't have to do quite as much damage, but still. But yeah, all sorts. I mean, the 100 wins of Eternity combo, I already had the video talking about how much I love that. So I don't want to belabor this too much, but I think I think there's more. I think there's enough lines now that I think, especially in Blitz, but I think even in CC, maybe Katsu's got a chance now to kind of maybe climb back up into that tier 1.5, whatever you guys like to call it, right? I think there's a chance there. I don't know. We will see. The problem is at the time that one of his disadvantages is that everybody else is going to be putting a lot of time into what's already good. So we'll see if the Ninja players are able to kind of catch up. But there's some pretty scary prospects there. All right, Ranger, I think, also held firm. And this is balanced out by the fact that I think Azalea definitely made ground. But I don't think Lexi did. And I think Lexi was the better Ranger. Lexi was clearly the better Ranger. I think Dreadbore is really good, but I don't think it's doing necessarily what... I don't think Dreadbore was the hope and savior that we all thought it was going to be. That's at least from me, and that's not just with Azalea. Well, yeah, I mean, it is just with Azalea, but I think that Death Dealer still does its thing for the card draw. Redliner, if you don't want that, I think Redliner's good for the top deck. So, yeah, I mean, we've talked extensively about Ranger, and don't get me wrong, guys, I'm not underselling what Ranger got. Azalea got some pretty great stuff. Rain Razors is great for everybody. There's good stuff out there. I'm not underselling. I just think that in terms of comparing it to the other classes, yes, Azalea probably gained ground. Lexi, I think, probably lost ground relatively. And that's why I think Ranger overall probably held firm, if anything. All right. In terms of lost ground, I do think I've been very vocal. I really like Swing Big. I think Brute picked up some really cool toys. Kayo is going to be a lot of fun with all the stuff, but I don't think that they're going to... I don't think they got enough to keep up. So that's why I have them as losing ground. Again, Bare Fangs is really good. Wild Ride is really good. I think they can slot in pretty well for some cards. Swing Big's crazy good. And I love to see stuff like that. It has helped build out the class. But I question how well... I mean, Brute wasn't exactly greatly positioned before, and I think that their tools relative to everybody else's, they fell farther behind. Which you'd think, if he's this big dude, I don't think he could run very fast in the race, right? So, all right, next we have Mechanologist. Now, Mechanologist actually got some pretty cool toys. So, I've been kind of learning more with Mech in the last week or so. I came out and I was like, yeah, and I love T-Bone. I think that's really all they got. And that's actually not true. So we have Dissolution Sphere is no joke or a sideboard card. We have Rotary Ram. Rotary Ram's very interesting for like a boosty boost style deck, because as long as you've boosted, it goes back to the bottom of your deck. And that's I think I didn't quite catch. It's just, some things don't click sometimes. So I think Rotary Ram's actually pretty good. Zoom In is its own thing. You can play around with, do you want to play, because Mechanologist has that whole cycle of like 2 cost boosts, right? So you play around with what you want to play and what kind of fits your objective. But I do think Zoom In may find its way into some decks. T-Bone, I think, is really good. You just have to kind of set up the multiple T-Bone line in order to make it really, really effective. And then, of course, the Pounder, right? The Teklo Pounder, I think, is also really, really very interesting from a Blitz standpoint. That said, the card out there that killed Mechanologist is the fact that you can go out now and you can get items, right? And really anybody get their item, and anybody can do that. So that is a bummer. Now, how many people run that? I don't know. Probably depends on how many mechs are out there. But that's an interesting trade-off to go get the items that they want. So I do think that's a bummer. I think relatively to everybody else, I think the tools they got were pretty much on par with everybody else in terms of like in that middle group. But the fact that there's the silver bullet out now, I think hurts them. Now, Warrior, you see it there. I have it at the bottom. Warrior did get some really good tools. Blade Runner is pretty crazy good. Now people are talking about Dorinthea axes again. We'll see what they can do with that. But in terms of the CC play, maybe Boltyn Sabers plays Blade Runner. Probably plays maybe red. Or not maybe. It probably plays red, maybe blue, maybe the other way around. So we'll see what people end up on there. I mean, it's kind of a bummer that it's not light because getting the health back on Lumina when there's 2 Luminas out, like misdrawing hurts. So you'll have to set it up, and we'll see how big of an impact it has to those decks running it. I think it's certainly an advantage to them to be able to 3-pitch and swing twice on their setup. So certainly doesn't stink there. And then Slice and Dice I think is really good in the right decks, or it may be really good in the right deck. I'm not totally Slice and Dice again. Maybe one of those. My issue with Slice and Dice being on the fence on that is merely that like I think there's better stuff than Slice and Dice in the guaranteed 2-hand. It seems really good for Dorinthea, but you still have to make sure it can hit. So, and you have to give it quick in somehow. So, and then Helm of Sharp Eye, I think this is a really great card for what it does in that it's a helm for the warriors, right? And it's not a skull cap expensive, so you can play it. It's a really great option there. It's really, really way too limited though, with the fact that like you can't even play a non-attack off of it, right? Because it kills the Chane. So, you know, I think the effect's kind of garbage. I know that there's some combos you can pull out there, and it's okay for, you know, I know that there's some situations that can be used, but I just don't think. Yeah, anyway, I think Warrior definitely fell behind from the CC perspective, right? And obviously in Blitz perspective, Kassai got way, way, way good. And then the loser tonight, this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, is Merchant. Merchant has, of course, the new hero that came out. They got the new Legendary, which everybody's joking about being, you know, the Legendary you don't want to pull. And then I did want to give a shout out to the one-handed weapon that they got. Oh wait, they didn't get it, right? So and I think that's the main thing is, you know, they're still kind of stuck using Talishar or just going in with a lantern. Yeah, it just kind of feels bad there. So we'll see what they get in the future. They need something, right? They need something. So anyway, that is my list of the race, right? So definitely you know, if you're looking at this as I'm an old cross country guy, right? If you're looking at it in terms of the pack, right? That front pack is definitely, I think, Guardian, Runeblade, Illusionist. If you're looking at it in Blitz, it's probably Ninja, Wizard, maybe Guardian. I mean, Oldhim still does Oldhim things. So I think Blitz is actually a little more wide open, just depending on kind of what your field looks like that day. Warrior's definitely up there in Blitz as well. So we'll see where Boltyn Sabers falls once everything's said and done. But I think by and large, you're going to see those top 3 a lot, an awful lot, right, in the constructed meta. And remember, there's multiple heroes of all of those in there. So yeah, well, so we will see. It is still very, very, very early. I'm not making any tier predictions or anything like that, and that's not really what I like to do anyway. But just looking at who gained ground, who lost ground, who did well, who didn't, and who fell flat on their face and never even crossed the finish line, which is our poor buddies Merchant. So anyway, folks, let me know what you're thinking. Do you agree? Do you disagree? You know, did your class get what you were hoping for? I think I do admit, you know, and that's part of the fun of this is sometimes you miss stuff. I think I missed a lot of the Mechanologist stuff early. I'm still bummed that they have that kill shot there, you know, the silver bullet, but you know, we'll see if that even matters going forward. So anyway, let me know what you guys are thinking. So you agree, you disagree, whatever it may be. I just want to remind everybody, my friends over at Fab Foundry, you can use the link below when you're getting your singles. Try and fill out those decks. I get a small kickback from that, but it helps a really good guy stay in business. He runs games out of his shop, Flesh and Blood, events out of his shop. He has events coming up, so make sure to check his calendar. So anyway, folks, thank you very much for tuning in today, and if nothing else, go Commando.